Have you ever felt like your past, like a relentless storm, was always threatening to overtake the present? Like the shadows of yesterday were constantly reaching for you, trying to pull you back into a place you desperately wanted to escape. Maybe you found yourself in a situation where you felt trapped, your choices limited, your future seemingly predetermined by the circumstances of your history. Perhaps you've carried wounds so deep, scars so visible, that you questioned whether true healing, true belonging, was even possible. This isn't just a story about distant times or other people. It's a reflection of the battles we all face within ourselves. Think about the weight of shame, the silent burden of secrets, the way past traumas can dictate our present reactions, our future hopes. We all carry stories, invisible to the outside world, that shape who we are, how we love, and how we allow ourselves to be loved. These stories, like the unforgiving landscape of a harsh frontier, can feel isolating, desolate, and filled with hidden dangers. We might yearn for a safe haven, a place to rebuild, to simply breathe without the constant fear of the past catching up. But how do you find that haven? How do you navigate the treacherous terrain of old wounds and learn to trust again when trust has been betrayed? This journey isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. It's about recognizing that the very things that seem to define us, the experiences that have wounded us the most, can also be the source of our greatest strength and resilience. It's about discovering the power of choice, the ability to rewrite our narratives, and the possibility of finding a love that isn't just a refuge, but a catalyst for profound transformation. We will explore the profound connection between healing and love, the courage it takes to confront the past, and the unwavering belief in the possibility of a brighter future. We will delve into the complexities of the human heart, the dance between vulnerability and strength, and the profound impact of compassion. We will examine the ways in which our past experiences shape our perceptions of ourselves and others, and how those perceptions can either hinder or help us forge meaningful connections. We will consider the delicate balance between self-protection and openness, and how to navigate the challenges of building trust when trust has been broken. This exploration will not be easy, but it will be necessary. It requires a willingness to look inward, to confront difficult truths, and to embrace the possibility of change. Are you ready to begin? Sometimes, the most insidious traps aren't physical. They are woven within our own emotional responses. Consider how trauma can warp our perception of safety, coloring every interaction with a filter of suspicion or fear. This isn't a conscious choice, mind you. Instead, it's a deeply ingrained pattern, a subconscious defense mechanism designed to protect us from further harm. Building on this, however, the very strategies we develop to survive can become the chains that bind us later. The woman who learned to be invisible to avoid unwanted attention may find herself struggling to be seen and heard in a healthy relationship. The man who built impenetrable walls around his heart to ward off pain might find himself isolated, longing for connection, yet unable to let anyone in. Consequently, the battlefield shifts inward. The struggle isn't against external threats, but against the echoes of the past that reverberate within our minds and hearts. Another crucial layer is understanding how these internal patterns influence our choices in relationships. Do you find yourself repeatedly drawn to partners who mirror the dynamics of your past? This could be a subtle reenactment of familiar pain, a desperate attempt to rewrite the ending of an old story. Or perhaps you actively avoid intimacy, fearing the vulnerability that comes with genuine connection. Conversely, you might overextend yourself, becoming a caretaker or a rescuer, hoping to gain validation and love through external means. Think about the stories we tell ourselves. Are they narratives of resilience and hope, or are they filled with self-doubt and blame? The language we use to describe our experiences, both to ourselves and to others, shapes our sense of self-worth and determines the possibilities we believe are available to us. Now, consider how this applies when you face the potential for love. If your internal monologue is one of unworthiness, it will be difficult to believe that someone could genuinely care for you. Furthermore, consider the concept of learned helplessness. This phenomenon describes how repeated exposure to trauma can erode our sense of agency, leaving us feeling powerless to change our circumstances. If you've repeatedly experienced betrayal or rejection, you might begin to believe that you're destined to be hurt, that happiness isn't meant for you. This belief, deeply entrenched, can become a self-fulfilling prophecy, subtly guiding your actions and sabotaging your chances for a fulfilling relationship. Ultimately, the journey to healing is a journey to self-awareness. It's about identifying these ingrained patterns, understanding their origins, and making a conscious choice to rewrite the script. It requires courage, vulnerability, and a willingness to challenge the limiting beliefs that have held you captive. It is a process of unlearning and relearning, of shedding the armor that once protected you and opening yourself to the possibility of a different future. Now, let's shift our gaze to the other side of the equation, the people in our lives, and how their own histories, wounds, and defenses influence their behavior. It's easy to fall into the trap of seeing others solely through the lens of our own experiences, interpreting their actions as a direct reflection of our worth or a personal attack. However, understanding that others are also navigating their own inner landscapes is a crucial step toward building healthy relationships. Consider the man who seems emotionally distant, unable to express his feelings. Rather than assuming he doesn't care, or that he's deliberately trying to hurt you, try to understand the possible reasons for his behavior. Has he experienced a loss? Did he grow up in an environment where emotional vulnerability was discouraged? Perhaps he learned, through experience, that showing emotion made him vulnerable to pain or rejection. Consequently, his emotional distance might be a defense mechanism, a way of protecting himself from further hurt, rather than a reflection of how he feels about you. Furthermore, the woman who seems to constantly seek validation, clinging to external approval, may not be doing so because she lacks genuine affection for you. Instead, she may be driven by an underlying fear of abandonment or a deep-seated insecurity. Her behaviors, while potentially challenging, are likely rooted in her own past experiences and the unmet needs that have shaped her sense of self. Building on this, it's important to remember that everyone carries their own unique set of emotional baggage. We all have our own histories, our own traumas, our own patterns of behavior. The way we interact with others is often a complex dance, a blend of our individual needs and the dynamics of our relationships. To assume that someone's behavior is solely about you, or that it's always a conscious choice, is to miss the deeper nuances of their personal journey. Another crucial layer is recognizing that understanding doesn't equate to condoning. You can acknowledge the origins of someone's behavior without excusing harmful actions. It's possible to have empathy for their struggles while also setting clear boundaries and protecting your own emotional well-being. This balancing act, though challenging, is at the core of healthy relationships. Conversely, imagine someone whose past has been marked by manipulation and control. They may struggle to trust others, constantly testing boundaries, or seeking to maintain a sense of power. Understanding this doesn't mean you should tolerate their behavior, but it does provide context. It allows you to respond with a more nuanced perspective, to approach the situation with compassion, while still prioritizing your own safety and well-being. Now, consider how this applies when you're in a relationship, and you notice certain behaviors. Instead of reacting with anger or defensiveness, try to approach the situation with curiosity. Ask yourself, what might be driving this behavior? What experiences in their past could have shaped their actions? Now let's turn our attention to the practical art of creating emotional safety. This is not merely about avoiding conflict. It's about cultivating an environment where both individuals feel secure enough to be vulnerable, honest, and truly seen. Think of it as building a sanctuary, a place where the storms of the past can't penetrate and where new growth is nurtured. Consequently, communication becomes the cornerstone of this sanctuary. It's not enough to simply talk. The key is to communicate in ways that foster connection and understanding. For instance, instead of resorting to accusatory language, which often triggers defensiveness, practice using I statements. I feel hurt when. It is far more effective than you always. Furthermore, it allows you to express your emotions without placing blame. Building on this, however, the ability to actively listen is equally crucial. This goes beyond simply hearing the words. It involves paying attention to the speaker's tone, body language, and the emotions that lie beneath the surface. Imagine holding a mirror up to their feelings, reflecting their experience back to them to show that you understand. This act of empathetic listening is a powerful validation, creating a sense of being truly heard and understood, which strengthens the emotional bond. Another crucial layer is establishing clear boundaries. These boundaries are not meant to shut others out, but to define what you are and are not willing to accept in a relationship. They act as a protective barrier, ensuring that your emotional well-being is respected. Consequently, these boundaries must be communicated clearly and consistently. For example, if you need time alone after a stressful day, communicate that need without feeling guilty or apologetic. Conversely, consider the importance of creating space for imperfection. In the real world, no one is perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. A healthy relationship is one where there is room for forgiveness and understanding, where both individuals are willing to accept each other's flaws. Imagine a garden where every flower is valued, regardless of its imperfections. Now, consider how this applies when you face conflict. Instead of avoiding difficult conversations, learn to approach them with a spirit of collaboration. See the conflict as an opportunity to understand each other better, rather than as a battle to be won. Instead of trying to prove you're right, strive to understand the other person's point of view. Learn to navigate disagreements with empathy and respect. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate conflict, but to develop the skills to navigate it constructively. Moreover, let's explore how to foster emotional safety by cultivating a culture of validation. This entails recognizing and affirming the feelings of your partner, even if you don't necessarily share them. Imagine, for instance, your loved one expresses frustration over a work-related setback. Rather than dismissing their feelings with platitudes or offering unsolicited advice, try acknowledging their experience. That sounds incredibly challenging, or I can see why you're feeling frustrated can go a long way in making someone feel seen and understood. Building on this, the act of validation doesn't require agreement. You don't have to condone someone's choices or perspectives to acknowledge their feelings. You can validate their experience while still holding your own views. For example, if your partner expresses anger over a perceived injustice, you can say, "I can see why you're upset. That sounds incredibly unfair," even if you don't fully share their perspective on the situation. This simple act of recognition can significantly de-escalate conflict and strengthen the emotional bond. Another crucial layer is learning to identify and address your own emotional triggers within the relationship. We all have certain buttons that, when pushed, elicit a strong emotional response. These triggers are often rooted in past experiences and unmet needs. Becoming aware of your own triggers and communicating them to your partner is a powerful step toward building a more secure relationship. For instance, if you have a history of abandonment, you might be particularly sensitive to perceived signs of disinterest or withdrawal. Conversely, imagine you recognize that your partner is struggling with a particular issue, and you begin to anticipate their needs and reactions. This proactive approach can help to prevent conflicts before they arise. For example, if your partner is prone to feeling overwhelmed during periods of high stress, you might offer to help with specific tasks or create space for them to decompress. This level of awareness and empathy fosters a sense of mutual support and understanding. Now, consider how this applies when you're navigating difficult conversations. Instead of reacting defensively or shutting down when your partner expresses a concern, try to approach the situation with curiosity. Seek to understand their perspective, even if you don't agree with it. Ask clarifying questions, listen actively, and validate their feelings. This approach can transform conflict from a battleground into an opportunity for growth and connection. Moreover, remember that creating emotional safety is an ongoing process, not a destination. It requires consistent effort, open communication, and a willingness to learn and adapt. Let's now turn our attention to the subtle yet profound concept of emotional attunement. This goes beyond simply hearing someone's words or recognizing their feelings. It involves a deep, intuitive understanding of their inner world. It's about being present with another person in a way that allows you to feel their emotions, almost as if they were your own. Moreover, consider the role of nonverbal cues. A significant portion of our communication occurs through body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice. Learning to read these subtle signals can greatly enhance your ability to connect with others on an emotional level. A furrowed brow, a hesitant gesture, or a subtle shift in posture can offer invaluable insights into a person's state of mind, even when their words tell a different story. Consequently, emotional attunement is not a passive process. It requires active engagement and a willingness to be present. It's about putting aside your own thoughts and concerns and genuinely focusing on the other person's experience. Imagine yourself as a sensitive instrument, finely tuned to the vibrations of another's heart. Furthermore, the practice of empathy plays a crucial role here. Empathy is the ability to step into another person's shoes and see the world from their perspective. However, empathy is not merely about understanding, it's about feeling. It's about experiencing their joy, their sorrow, their fear, and their hope as if it were your own. Another crucial layer is the cultivation of patience. Emotional attunement doesn't happen overnight. It's a skill that develops over time, through repeated interactions and a genuine commitment to understanding others. Be patient with yourself and with those you care about. Recognize that everyone processes emotions differently, and that it may take time for others to open up and share their vulnerabilities. Conversely, consider the impact of shared experiences. When you and another person have gone through similar challenges or triumphs, a deeper level of emotional attunement often emerges. The shared understanding creates a sense of unspoken connection, allowing you to offer support and understanding in a way that might not be possible otherwise. Now, consider how this applies when you're trying to build a deep connection with someone. Practice actively listening, paying attention to their nonverbal cues, and striving to understand their perspective. Let's now explore the delicate art of navigating emotional boundaries with grace and resilience. This isn't about erecting impenetrable walls. Instead, it's about establishing a clear sense of self within the context of a relationship. Think of it as defining your personal space, not as a means of exclusion, but as a safeguard for your own well-being. Furthermore, recognize that boundaries aren't static. They evolve as the relationship deepens and as individual needs change. What might be acceptable in the early stages of a relationship might become less so as intimacy grows. Consequently, it's crucial to revisit and adjust your boundaries periodically, ensuring they continue to serve your needs and reflect your values. Building on this, the ability to communicate your boundaries assertively yet kindly is paramount. This means clearly articulating your needs and expectations without resorting to blame or aggression. Consider, for instance, a scenario where a partner consistently interrupts you while you're speaking. Instead of reacting with anger, you might say something like, "I feel unheard when I'm interrupted. Could we agree to let each other finish our thoughts before responding?" This approach prioritizes your needs while also expressing them with respect. Another crucial layer is understanding that boundaries are not about controlling the other person. They are about protecting yourself. They are a reflection of your own self-respect and a declaration of what you are willing to accept in a relationship. Now, imagine a situation where a partner attempts to guilt-trip you into doing something you're uncomfortable with. Your boundaries are your shield here. It's perfectly acceptable to say, "I understand that you're disappointed, but I'm not comfortable with that." Conversely, consider the importance of respecting the boundaries of others. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, which includes honoring each other's limits and preferences. If your partner expresses a need for space, respect that need. If they communicate a boundary, honor it. Violating boundaries erodes trust and creates a sense of unease. Now, consider how this applies when you find yourself in a situation where you are unsure of someone's boundaries. The best approach is always to err on the side of caution. Ask clarifying questions, listen attentively, and respect their response. Let's now consider the vital interplay of vulnerability and strength within a relationship. A dynamic often misunderstood. It isn't a sign of weakness to reveal your innermost thoughts and feelings. Rather, it's a display of profound courage, a willingness to shed the armor of self-protection in the pursuit of genuine connection. Moreover, it's a testament to the belief that your authentic self is worthy of being seen and loved. Furthermore, remember that vulnerability isn't about spilling your guts indiscriminately. It's about sharing your authentic self in a way that fosters closeness and understanding. It's about disclosing your fears, your hopes, your dreams, and your vulnerabilities in a safe and supportive environment. This can create a profound bond that transcends superficial interactions. Building on this, however, it's equally crucial to recognize that vulnerability is not a one-way street. Healthy relationships are built on a foundation of mutual openness, where both partners feel safe enough to share their true selves. If one partner consistently withholds their emotions, the other may feel isolated, unsupported, and ultimately disconnected. This is not to say that everyone must be immediately forthcoming. It's about creating a space where both partners feel safe enough to gradually unveil their inner worlds. Another crucial layer is understanding the difference between vulnerability and oversharing. While it's important to be open and honest, it's equally important to protect your emotional well-being. Oversharing can sometimes be a way of seeking validation or attention, and it can also overwhelm your partner. Be mindful of your partner's capacity to receive and process your emotions, and always prioritize your own sense of safety. Conversely, consider the profound impact of shared vulnerability on intimacy. When you and your partner are willing to be open and honest with each other, it creates a deep sense of connection and trust. You're no longer just two individuals, you're a team, navigating the complexities of life together. Imagine a tightrope walker, relying on their partner to catch them should they fall. That's the level of trust that vulnerability can create. Now, consider how this applies when you're facing a difficult conversation. Instead of retreating into silence or lashing out, try opening up. Share your fears, your concerns, your hopes, and your needs. This might feel scary at first, but it can also be incredibly liberating. It can pave the way for deeper understanding and connection. Ultimately, the strength of a relationship lies not in the absence of vulnerability, but in the courage to embrace it. Now, let's delve into the nuanced dance of expectation and acceptance within the realm of relationships. Oftentimes, we enter into partnerships carrying with us an unspoken list of requirements, a mental checklist of how we believe our partner should behave, think, and feel. This isn't inherently malicious. Mind you, it stems from our own desires and experiences, a natural inclination to seek out compatibility and fulfillment. However, these expectations, if left unchecked, can become a breeding ground for disappointment and resentment. Furthermore, the very act of clinging to rigid expectations can stifle the natural evolution of a relationship. People are complex, multifaceted beings, constantly growing and changing. To lock someone into a predetermined role or set of behaviors is to deny them the freedom to be their authentic selves, to adapt and evolve. Consequently, we must learn to embrace the fluidity of relationships, to accept that our partners will inevitably fall short of our expectations at times. Building on this, however, recognizing the difference between realistic and unrealistic expectations is paramount. It's perfectly natural to desire certain qualities in a partner, such as kindness, honesty, and respect. These are foundational elements of any healthy relationship. Unrealistic expectations, on the other hand, are often rooted in fantasy, in an idealized vision of what a partner should be. These might include expecting them to always agree with you, to possess the same interests, or to perfectly fulfill every emotional need. Another crucial layer is understanding the impact of cultural and societal influences on our expectations. We are bombarded with messages about what constitutes a perfect relationship, often through media, movies, and social norms. These messages can create unrealistic benchmarks, leading us to compare our own relationships to idealized versions, fostering dissatisfaction and a sense of inadequacy. Conversely, consider the power of acceptance. This doesn't mean tolerating disrespect or abuse. It means embracing your partner's imperfections, recognizing their flaws, and appreciating them for who they truly are. It's a willingness to see them beyond the surface, to appreciate their unique qualities, and to cultivate a love that is rooted in reality rather than fantasy. Now, consider how this applies when you're confronted with a situation where your partner doesn't meet your expectations. Instead of reacting with criticism or disappointment, try approaching the situation with curiosity and compassion. Ask yourself, what's the underlying reason for their behavior? Is it a reflection of a deeper need or struggle? Moreover, let's unpack the concept of love languages and how understanding them can revolutionize your approach to acceptance. Recognizing that individuals express and receive affection in distinct ways is a key to bridging the gap between expectation and reality. Some people thrive on words of affirmation, feeling most loved when their partner expresses appreciation and support. Others are deeply touched by acts of service, feeling cherished when their partner lends a helping hand or takes on a burden. Physical touch, quality time, and receiving gifts also make up the spectrum of these individual preferences. Building on this, however, it's essential to avoid the trap of assuming your partner's love language mirrors your own. If you naturally gravitate toward expressing affection through physical touch, for example, you might mistakenly believe that this is also the primary way your partner feels loved. This misunderstanding can lead to miscommunication in a sense of being unloved, even when your partner is expressing their affection in their own unique way. Consequently, the crucial step is to learn your partner's love language and tailor your expressions of love accordingly. This isn't about changing who you are. It's about making a conscious effort to communicate in a way that resonates with them. If your partner's love language is acts of service, you might find that doing their chores, running errands, or taking on extra responsibilities speaks volumes. Another crucial layer is understanding that love languages can evolve over time. As individuals grow and change, so too may their preferred ways of giving and receiving affection. Regular check-ins, open communication, and a willingness to adapt are key to ensuring that both partners feel loved and appreciated. You might notice that your partner's needs change over time, and it's your responsibility to adapt your behaviors to meet those needs. Conversely, consider the impact of not knowing your partner's love language. Without this understanding, you might continue to express your affection in ways that are not truly received, leading to a cycle of misunderstanding and unmet needs. This can create a sense of emotional distance, even when both partners are deeply invested in the relationship. Now, consider how this applies when you are struggling to feel loved or appreciated. Explore the love languages with your partner. Now, let's shift our focus to the nuanced art of navigating disagreements within a relationship, a skill that extends far beyond simply avoiding arguments. Conflict, in itself, isn't inherently destructive. It's the manner in which we engage with it that determines its impact. Instead of viewing disagreements as battles to be won, consider them opportunities for deeper understanding and connection. Furthermore, the ability to detach emotionally from the heat of the moment is crucial. During a heated exchange, our primal instincts often kick in, leading to reactive behaviors such as defensiveness, criticism, or withdrawal. Practicing mindfulness, however, allows you to observe your own emotional responses without being consumed by them. This creates space for more thoughtful responses rather than impulsive reactions. Building on this, however, cultivating a sense of curiosity during conflict is invaluable. Instead of assuming you know your partner's intentions or motivations, ask clarifying questions. Can you help me understand why you feel that way? Or what's the most important thing for you in this situation? Can open up avenues for genuine dialogue and understanding. Consequently, the goal is not to change their mind, but to truly comprehend their perspective. Another crucial layer is the practice of active listening, which is more than just hearing the words being spoken. It involves paying close attention to your partner's body language, tone of voice, and the emotions underlying their words. It also means periodically summarizing their points to ensure you've understood them correctly. So, it sounds like you're feeling hurt because, or if I understand correctly, you're concerned about. Demonstrate that you're actively engaged in hearing their perspective. Conversely, consider the detrimental impact of stonewalling. This is when one partner shuts down during a conflict, refusing to engage or communicate. This can involve withdrawing, emotionally, physically leaving the room, or simply refusing to respond to questions. Stonewalling is a particularly damaging behavior, as it conveys a lack of respect and a refusal to work through the issues. Now, consider how this applies when a disagreement arises within your own relationship. Instead of immediately reacting with anger or defensiveness, take a deep breath. Remind yourself that your goal is to understand, not to win. Ask yourself, what are the underlying issues at play? What unmet needs might be driving this conflict? By approaching the situation with empathy and a genuine desire to connect, you can transform conflict from a source of division into a catalyst for growth. Furthermore, when navigating disagreements, the emphasis shouldn't solely rest on verbal communication. Non-verbal cues often speak volumes, providing a window into the emotions that words sometimes fail to convey. A furrowed brow, a clenched jaw, or averted eyes can reveal underlying tension, fear, or disappointment, even if the spoken words seem calm. Consequently, learning to read these subtle signals can dramatically enhance your ability to understand your partner's experience and respond with greater empathy. Building on this, however, is the practice of self-soothing. Disagreements can trigger a cascade of emotional responses, from frustration to anger to sadness. Developing strategies to regulate your own emotions during these moments is crucial. This might involve taking a few deep breaths, stepping away from the situation for a brief period, or simply reminding yourself of your shared commitment to resolving the conflict constructively. Another crucial layer is recognizing the difference between a healthy argument and a destructive one. Healthy arguments are characterized by mutual respect, a willingness to listen, and a focus on resolving the issue at hand. Destructive arguments, conversely, are marked by criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling, all of which erode trust and damage the relationship. Conversely, consider the power of compromise. It's tempting to cling to your own perspective, to insist on getting your way. But a healthy relationship requires a willingness to meet your partner halfway, to find solutions that satisfy both of your needs. This doesn't mean sacrificing your own values or needs. It means seeking creative solutions that honor both of your perspectives. Now, consider how this applies when you face a seemingly insurmountable disagreement. Instead of digging in your heels, try to identify the core needs and values that are at stake for both of you. Can you find a solution that addresses both of those? Furthermore, consider the impact of timing. Not every moment is conducive to a productive conversation. If one or both of you are exhausted, stressed, or preoccupied, it's often better to postpone the discussion until a later time when you can both approach it with greater clarity and patience. This allows for a more thoughtful and less reactive exchange. Building on this, however, is the practice of forgiveness. Disagreements, even when resolved, can leave lingering emotional residue. Holding on to resentment can poison the relationship. Learning to forgive your partner and yourself is essential for moving forward. Now, let's turn our attention to the cultivation of emotional resilience, a crucial element in navigating the inevitable storms that life and relationships may bring. It's not about avoiding difficult feelings or pretending they don't exist. Rather, it's about developing the inner strength to weather them, to bounce back from adversity with greater clarity and self-compassion. Think of it as fortifying your inner landscape, building a robust foundation that can withstand the tremors of disappointment, loss, and conflict. Furthermore, one of the most potent tools in building emotional resilience is the practice of self-compassion. This involves treating yourself with the same kindness, understanding, and empathy that you would offer a dear friend. This isn't about self-indulgence or weakness. It's about recognizing your shared humanity, accepting that everyone makes mistakes, experiences pain, and encounters setbacks. Consequently, when you make a mistake, or when you experience a painful emotion, resist the urge to self-criticize. Instead, offer yourself words of comfort and encouragement. Building on this, however, is the ability to reframe negative thoughts and beliefs. Our minds are often prone to negative thinking patterns such as catastrophizing or overjudging. Learning to identify and challenge these patterns is a critical step in building resilience. For instance, if you find yourself thinking, "This relationship is doomed," try to challenge that thought. Ask yourself, is there any evidence to support this belief? Are there alternative perspectives? Another crucial layer is the establishment of a robust support system. Surrounding yourself with people who offer genuine support, encouragement, and understanding is invaluable during challenging times. These can be friends, family members, therapists, or support groups. Having a network of trusted individuals to lean on can buffer you from the impact of stressors and help you to navigate difficult emotions. Conversely, consider the impact of isolation. When you face challenges alone, the burdens can feel overwhelming. Seeking out connection and support is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength and self-awareness, just like a ship needs a harbor during a storm. We all need safe havens during difficult times. Now, consider how this applies when you're feeling overwhelmed by a challenge. Instead of isolating yourself, reach out to someone you trust. Share your feelings, ask for support, and allow yourself to be vulnerable. Furthermore, the practice of self-care is a cornerstone of emotional resilience. This involves engaging in activities that nourish your mind, body, and spirit. This could include exercise, spending time in nature, pursuing hobbies, practicing mindfulness, or engaging in creative expression. These practices are not luxuries. They're essential for maintaining your emotional well-being. One of the most compelling facets of cultivating emotional resilience is developing a growth mindset. This isn't just a buzzword. It's a deeply held belief that your abilities and intelligence are not fixed, but rather can be developed through dedication and hard work. This perspective fosters a sense of possibility. encouraging you to see challenges not as threats, but as opportunities for learning and self-improvement. Furthermore, embracing a growth mindset encourages a willingness to take risks and step outside of your comfort zone. Rather than shying away from unfamiliar territory, you approach it with curiosity, viewing setbacks not as failures, but as valuable lessons that inform future endeavors. Consequently, this adaptive outlook allows you to navigate the inevitable bumps in the road with greater ease, knowing that each experience contributes to your overall development. Building on this, however, is the practice of accepting impermanence. Life, in its essence, is in constant flux. Relationships change, circumstances shift, and emotions ebb and flow. Resilient individuals understand and accept this fundamental truth, recognizing that clinging to the illusion of permanence only leads to unnecessary suffering. Another crucial layer is the capacity to find meaning and purpose, even amidst adversity. Conversely, consider the impact of a fixed mindset. Individuals who believe that their abilities are innate often shy away from challenges, fearing failure and the potential to reveal their perceived limitations. This can create a cycle of avoidance where you miss out on opportunities for growth and self-discovery. Now, consider how this applies when faced with a relationship challenge. Instead of viewing it as an insurmountable obstacle, approach it with a growth mindset. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? How can I improve my communication skills? What new perspectives can I gain? Furthermore, the ability to cultivate optimism, while not necessarily a guarantee of a trouble-free existence, can significantly enhance your capacity to cope with adversity. This involves focusing on the positive aspects of a situation, even when faced with difficult circumstances. It's about choosing to see the glass as half full rather than half empty. Building on this, however, is the practice of forgiveness. Forgiving yourself and others for past mistakes is crucial for moving forward. Holding on to resentment only perpetuates suffering, while letting go frees you to embrace new possibilities. As we journey towards the final vista, it becomes increasingly evident that the essence of enduring connection isn't a destination, but rather a dynamic and ever-evolving process. Consider the intricate dance of two separate entities, each with their own internal landscapes, their own histories etched into the very fabric of their being. Their interaction resembles a complex tapestry woven with threads of vulnerability, understanding, and the unwavering commitment to mutual growth. Each thread, representing a distinct facet of the relationship, must be carefully considered and skillfully integrated to create a harmonious whole. In light of these insights, the path forward becomes clearer, illuminated by the light of self-awareness and the profound power of empathy. It's a path that requires a willingness to confront the shadows of the past, not as a means of dwelling in them, but as a necessary step toward liberation. The journey involves a conscious decision to rewrite the narrative, to transform the limiting beliefs that may have held you captive for far too long. It necessitates a commitment to open and honest communication, where words become bridges, connecting hearts and fostering deeper understanding. Drawing these strands together, we see that the core of healthy relationships lies in the cultivation of a safe and secure emotional space. This space is not built overnight. It's nurtured through consistent effort, through a willingness to listen, to validate, and to truly see the other person. It's a space where imperfections are embraced, where vulnerabilities are shared without fear, and where the seeds of trust can take root and flourish. Reflecting on this journey so far, it becomes apparent that the greatest strength doesn't reside in the absence of conflict, but in the ability to navigate it with grace and resilience. It's about approaching disagreements not as battles to be won, but as opportunities for deeper understanding and connection. It's about recognizing that growth often emerges from the very moments that challenge us the most. The relationship is like a garden that requires tending, with the elements of sunlight, water, and nurturing being the components for growth. As we pivot towards the final reflection, the implications of this exploration become profoundly clear. We are reminded that the most meaningful connections are forged through a continuous process of self-discovery, mutual understanding, and unwavering commitment to the shared journey. The tapestry is finally coming together, ready to be presented. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows across the landscape, we arrive at the culmination of our shared exploration. We've traversed the terrain of emotional triggers, dissected the intricate patterns that shape our experiences, and gained a profound appreciation for the perspectives of others. We've examined the vital role of communication, the power of conscious love, and the transformative potential of embracing vulnerability. Now, as the final words cascade, a deeper understanding begins to crystallize. The journey to genuine connection, to a love that heals and elevates, isn't a linear path. It's a winding river, carving its way through the mountains of our past, embracing the valleys of our present, and flowing towards the boundless ocean of the future. The essence of our shared exploration boils down to this: the most profound relationships are not built on perfection, but on a courageous commitment to authenticity. It's about daring to show up as you truly are, scars and all, knowing that your worth is not contingent on external validation. It's about recognizing that the very vulnerabilities we often hide are the keys to unlocking the deepest levels of intimacy. This is not to say that it's always easy. It requires a constant willingness to confront our own shortcomings, to challenge our limiting beliefs, and to extend empathy to ourselves and others, even when it feels difficult. Moreover, the true magic lies not just in finding a partner, but in becoming the kind of person who is capable of creating and sustaining a healthy, loving connection. This means cultivating self-awareness, practicing compassion, and embracing the inherent imperfections that make us human. It means learning to communicate with honesty and clarity, to set boundaries with grace, and to navigate conflict with a spirit of collaboration. The final truth here is that the most rewarding relationships aren't simply found. They are co-created, piece by piece, moment by moment, with intention, presence, and unwavering love. The true practice begins now. As you step away from this reflection, carry the insights we've uncovered with you. Let them serve as a compass, guiding you on your journey. Remember that every interaction, every challenge, and every triumph is an opportunity to deepen your understanding of yourself and others. Embrace the imperfections, celebrate the small victories, and never lose sight of the extraordinary potential that lies within the human heart. May you walk forward with courage, with compassion, and with an unwavering belief in the transformative power of